But nothing. She just put on.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Small one. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن أعداءهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتاله. بأبي وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبتي مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله، اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد والشمرى وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. محمد وآل محمد صلوات. आज भी ज़ैनब की आँखें है सदा भाई हुसैन। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। तेरा चेहरा तेरी आँखें भूल कब पाई हुसैन। चेतना कैसे गिराया खुद को जलती रेत पर। چلتے نہ کیسے گرایا خود کو جلتی ریت پر گٹھلیوں کے بل میں تیری لاش تک آئی حسین اور بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر کسی مشکل میں گر کر میں نہ گھبرائی حسین آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نبے دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نبے ٹھنڈا پانی جب بھی بس تیری یاد آئی حسین ٹھنڈا پانی جب پیا بس تیری یاد آئی حسین آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Lord Salawat, please can I ask all the brothers to please move forward as there's still some brothers coming in. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Surah Al-Mubarakatul Fatiha.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين للتراب والدم والفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم الأمين. أما بعد، قال المعصوم عليه السلام: السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة وخزان العلم. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Ziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of the Imam, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama, and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahum al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. And pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Allah, fulfill the Banyani Majlis, all of their Shari Hajat. Remove all the bala and difficulties from this home. Bring your rahmah and your barakah within this home and upon all those who enter and dwell within this home. Ya Allah, keep safe the Azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada around the world. Destroy the enemies of Azadari in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true mu'tadhareen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought, and for the maghfirah of the marhumeen of the Baniyani Majlis. Please recite 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. I was asked to recite the next 2 majalis, today and tomorrow's, on the spiritual dimensions of Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira. So I want to initially start off. I see a lot of young people here, and maybe some of the adults as well. Some of the matter that we will discuss today is from an extremely ontological, philosophical perspective. I will, seeing the demographics of the crowd, try and simplify what we are going to speak about, but this, in its very nature, the topic itself is quite a heavy topic, to try and understand the true nature of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And in 2 majalis, one cannot do justice to this. Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira is that ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam that comes from Imam al-Hadi. And it's interesting that prior to this point, none of the other Imams have in such a public way given an explanation of the maqam of Ahlul Bayt and the maqam of Wilaya. But Imam al-Hadi is in a unique position. Following Imam al-Rada, the Shi'as began to gain a lot of strength around the Muslim empire. Though the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were still madhloom, but the Shi'as to some extent had huge strongholds throughout the Islamic empire. And so now the Imam begins to explain, because Imam al-Rada had set much of the groundwork in the open debates and discussions and began openly discussing, for example, in the hadith of Silsilat al-Dhahab, the golden chain narration, the maqam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, then Imam al-Jawad, and then when it reaches Imam al-Hadi, we have three main things that come from Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam, which are explanations of the maqam of Ahlul Bayt. The first is Ziyarat Ghadir of Imam al-Hadi on Yawm al-Ghadir. So when he's being taken to Samarra, he makes the army do a detour to Najaf, and there, surrounded by 300 soldiers of Mutawakkil, he recites Ziyarat Ghadir. Every single ayah revealed in the Sha'n of Amir al-Mu'mineen from the Holy Quran is within that. Every hadith that the Holy Prophet ever recited about the greatness, la'na upon the enemies of Amir al-Mu'mineen, all of that is within this ziyarah. It shows the strength that Imam al-Hadi had and the confidence in that there were many Shi'as now around the world, though the Imam himself was madhloom and was the subject of dhulm, but now they could openly speak about these things. The second is the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Rajab. And then the third thing is Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira. Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira is extremely, extremely deep. We only generally tend to recite it when we go to Mashhad, but it's recommended to be recited at every single Imam's grave. It is the true maqam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to the peak of our ability to understand them. But Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are even beyond this. What we recite in Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira is to the max of the ability of the human being to comprehend the maqam of wilaya and to comprehend the maqam of the hujjah of Allah. Otherwise, the maqam of the hujjah of Allah is far greater than what is spoken about in Ziyarat Jami'a. Last year, I had 3 lectures at JCC. I'm not sure how many of you were there, but where I gave a very brief rundown in regards to the structure of existence. We said that, and I'm not going to go into the details, I'm just going to go over it so that I can get you to a point where we can then begin to discuss the particular portion of the ziyarah that I have selected for this lecture. And that is that all of existence is in a vertical structure. Tawheed is at the top. Obviously, we know when we talk about top, we're not talking about makan, we're just giving a general indication of how this structure is. Tawheed is at the top. Then below Tawheed is the realm of wilaya, and then below this is the realm of existence, is the realm of mulk. The malakut of the alam exists and is powered. The malakut of the alam powers the mulk of the alam, this physical realm. And the malakut of the alam, its batin is run by, or it is run by the batin of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Everything that you see within existence that appears, for example, a droplet of rain that falls upon the earth, here is just a droplet of rain. But in the malakut, in the semi-material realm, there is an angel carrying a droplet of rain and coming down to the earth. That action in the malakut is signed off by the batin of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So this is where we have these narrations from, for example, the 7th Imam or the first Imam, where Amir al-Mu'mineen saying that not a single angel within the heavens moves بِقَدْرِ نَفْسٍ وَاحِدٍ, to the extent of a single breath, except that I, Ali, give them permission to do so, and then or that the 7th Imam says, not a single amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is executed upon this earthly realm, except that the angel first that has been given this amr first comes to Ahl al-Bayt, we sign it off and then they execute it. By amr we mean rain, clouds, wind, the rising of the sun, the setting of this, everything, every action that occurs within the mulk is powered by the malakut, and the malakut, the essence of the malakut is Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam. The batin of Ahl al-Bayt, and I mentioned this before, has many different names. The batin of Ahl al-Bayt is often referred to as Lawh Mahfuz. The batin of Ahl al-Bayt is often referred to by the awliya and the urafa as Kitabul Mubin. The batin of Ahl al-Bayt is that Tajalli al-A'zam, where the Holy Prophet reaches the point of Mi'raj and he's about to enter into the lahut that the urafa referred to, the totally immaterial realm, the realm of God and a few of those angels beyond the lahut, that realm of Qaba Qawsayn or Adna. At that point, Jibreel says to the Holy Prophet that this is Sidratul Muntaha. No one, every other prophet has only been able to reach here. No one else has had permission or the ability to go beyond Sidratul Muntaha into this realm. But you have been given permission to enter this realm. And so the Holy Prophet enters, and you have that the Holy Prophet goes and he has that conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that conversation and in the dua of the night of Mab'ath, the night of the Ba'atha of the Holy Prophet, there is a dua, there is a line where we say, "Oh Allah, for the sake of this night and the tajalli al-a'zam that you let, your greatest tajalli, your greatest manifestation that you made apparent on this night." And it's often questioned, what is the tajalli al-a'zam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was shown to the Prophet? Some have said that tajalli al-a'zam was the batin of the Quran. Others have said no, it was some other matters. But the awliya and the urafa said no. The tajalli al-a'zam at that point of Qaba Qawsayn or Adna, the greatest tajalli of God that was shown to the Holy Prophet was the wujud of the Holy Prophet, was a reflection of himself. For he is the greatest tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is Nuri Isfa Budiya. He is that first light. And so when he reaches that maqam, it is the maqam of man arafa nafsa faqad arafa rabbah. The one who knows himself, knows his Lord. Allah displays that tajalli al-a'zam, saying that you are my greatest tajalli. The maqam, when I'm saying the maqam of Ahl al-Bayt is far beyond what is in the Ziyarat Jami'ah. This is to the peak of our understanding. But how do you explain that which came from that which is la mahdud into the realm, but is connected with that constantly, is a constant tajalli of that God, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that in mind, hopefully I've baffled you enough to now take you to this next stage. And so the whole of alam, the whole of existence, its soul is the batin of Ahl al-Bayt. It is the driving force. If that is not there, everything collapses. لو لا حجة لساخت الأرض بأهلها. What it means is this connection from that which is wajib al-wujud to that which is mumkin al-wujud. The chain that through which it comes is through the hujjah of Allah. And this is what Amir al-Mu'mineen says in that letter to Muawiyah. Says, Ya Muawiyah, نحن صنائع ربنا والخلق بعد صنائعنا. That, oh Muawiyah, we are the recipients of the divine grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْخَلْقُ بَعْدُ صَنَائِعُنَا. And the rest of existence receives this divine blessing after us, from us. Now, what is this after us, from us? Because what comes from the realm of Tawheed cannot be borne by that, but cannot be borne by born, I meant be able to bear the weight of what comes from the immaterial realm towards a material being, i.e. the words of God, the barakah of Allah. It cannot be borne. Because the Quran says it, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل. If we revealed this Quran upon a mountain, you would have seen that the mountain would have exploded. The only thing that can bear the direct words of God is the heart, the batini wujud of the Holy Prophet. And so when this Nahnu Sana'i'u Rabbina is happening, that all of these are coming directly to Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam, they explain it like this. A newborn child is unable to eat anything. If you feed it meat, if you feed it fruit, if you feed it proper food that we would say, it will die. It will perish. So what happens is that the mother consumes it, because the child doesn't have the ability to consume it. The mother consumes it, she digests it, her body then produces milk in a way that now that sustenance can reach that child. The wujud of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam in regards to all of the barakats of this dunya is like this. They receive it directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they digest it within their batin, and then it's teetered out to the rest of existence. Otherwise, the human being does not have the ability to be able to receive that direct connection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, for the purpose of this lecture, I've chosen the line وَخُزَانُ الْعِلْمِ, that you, Ahlul Bayt, are the treasurers, the holders of the knowledge of God. What is meant by that? So there are two key points that you need to understand as we move into this discussion. And that is that they possess all of the knowledge of God. But prior to that, two key factors that you need to understand. They don't know everything at every moment. Okay? That's the first premise. They don't know everything at every moment. But every time they wish to know something, they can. Okay? There's this distinction. They don't know everything at every moment. But every time they wish to know something, they can. Right? Because in our books of ahadith, we have whole chapters under the title of Babul Anna al-A'imma idha sha'u alimu. The chapter of the A'imma, when they wish to know, they know. Yeah, when they wish to know, they can know. And there are many discussions and debates that are around this. And the things that they don't want to know, or that the things that they don't know, are side matters, are like matters of the dunya, where they say, I don't, and we'll come to explain this, but the matters that they do know are related directly to matters of guidance and imamat. And the things that they say we don't know about are things that are not related to guidance and imamat. But even those things, if they wish to know, they can know them. Yeah? But they only access the divine knowledge when they want or need that particular knowledge. In essence, the key is in their hands. Whether they choose to dive into that treasure trove of divine knowledge is in their own hands. So we'll look at the hadith and the Quran to try and explore this a bit further. I said already that the souls, the batin of Ahlul Bayt is Lawh Mahfuz, and there is a whole discussion in regards to Wahi, and then, well, if Jibreel is coming down to the Holy Prophet with a message from God, then that must mean that for a moment, the Holy Prophet doesn't know something, even for a split second, that he knows something that the Prophet doesn't know, and if the Prophet is the greatest of all of creation, then what is that to happen? What is that? That means that the Holy Prophet is in some way, na'udhu billah, lower than Jibreel. And the ulama, they've explained it, especially in the tafsir of Ziyarat Jamia as well, they've had this discussion that the batin of Ahl al-Bayt is Lawh Mahfuz. So it always comes on their batin. Jibreel is almost like that thought process that we have, where we look through all of our life. When we're presented with a situation, we look through all of the various things that have happened in our lives, and we bring that thought forward, and then we formulate something, and then we bring it to our tongue to try and counter that particular thing. That is revealed to the batin of Ahlul Bayt. When the Prophet reaches a particular place, it's revealed on his batin, Lawh Mahfuz. Jibreel is the thought process of this whole alam in regards to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. He reads it from their batini wujud in the semi-material realm, and then brings it to their physical wujud in the material realm. And thus, it's never a case that they don't know. It's that they always know before him, but he then brings it from that realm to this realm. And there is never a separation between their batin and their physical wujud. So when it comes to their knowledge, please recite salawat. So there is never a time where Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam are not aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like they're not ghafil at any point. They're always in the state of fana, always fani, always annihilated within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last night I was giving the brothers this example at a gathering that, you know, when that famous story of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Sajda, and they say to him, like, the Holy Prophet says, when he goes into Sajda, remove the arrow from his foot, because he, at that point, is at a level of fana, he won't be able to feel it. And then the question arises, but then that same Ali that couldn't feel an arrow coming out of his foot in Sajda, when someone walks into the masjid and says that, you know, oh Allah, I'm poor, nobody's giving me anything, that same Ali who'd had no sense of his own body or anything about himself, that same Ali now sticks out his hand while in the state of ruku. So what's going on? Is he fani or is he aware when he's in the state of salah? And Shaykh Mutahari rahmatullah alayhi has a beautiful explanation of this. He says that when Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the state of sajda, at that point, when they removed that arrow, he was at that level of fana. That's fana is dhati, that he's totally annihilated in Allah. There is nothing else around him. All he sees is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, total detachment from the physical realm. But the state that he is in the story of the ruku is different. It's another state, i.e. that they caught him when they were taking the arrow at the state of fana. But this state where he's in the state of ruku, the Urafa, they refer to that as the state of baqa ba'd al-fana. The state of baqa ba'd al-fana. So after you have become fani, to then become self-aware in that annihilation. Okay? Once one becomes fani in the dhat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the essence of God, then he becomes self-aware at that point. And then at that point of self-awareness, that one that achieves the maqam of fana, or baqa ba'd al-fana, that individual then becomes lisanullah, becomes yadullah, becomes aynullah, becomes wajhullah, becomes uzanullah, everything that he does, because now he is baqi after that annihilation. He's become self-aware once entering into that state. And so now here, when this individual says, oh Allah, I'm leaving the mosque of your Prophet empty-handed, because Ali was fani within Allah, was within the Illiyin, and then had become baqi after being fani. Now he is uzunullah, now he is lisanullah, now he is wajhullah, and so he hears it in the Illiyin, this person's complaint, and so now his physical wujud moves. So the hujjah of Allah is never aware and never unaware at any point. One day the Holy Prophet is sleeping underneath a tree and Salman breaks a twig The Holy Prophet opens his eyes and says, Salman, what are you doing? Why are you making so much noise? Says, Ya Rasulullah, I thought you were asleep. The Holy Prophet says to him, Salman, know one thing. Says, my eyes sleep, but my heart never sleeps. My eyes sleep, my eyes close, but my heart is always aware of everything. This is where the hujjah of Allah is, the maqam that He possesses. So we have hundreds, if not thousands of hadith that speak about the ilm of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, regarding the dunya, regarding the barzakh, akhirah, jannah, jahannam, the batin, the zahir of all of existence. But all of that knowledge that we have, people often say that no one can possess that knowledge except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have many other narrations that talk about various things and various ayat of the Holy Quran that we'll look at. The knowledge of Ahl al-Bayt, the first thing to understand, or the third thing now to understand, is that the knowledge of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam is not learned. It is bestowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of their ubudiyah. In Dua al-Nudba, there is some lines that we recite. We say, بعد أن شرطت عليهم الزهد في درجات هذه الدنيا الدنية وزخرفها وضبرجها فشرطوا لك ذلك. Says that, and after you had already stipulated on them, Ahl al-Bayt, that they will do zuhd, that they will abstain of all things within this lowly world, and along with all its embellishments and its ornaments, and فَشَرَطُوا لَكَ ذَلِكَ, and they accepted the stipulations, وَعَلِمْتَ مِنْهُمُ الْوَفَاءَ بِهِ, and you knew that they would be true to this. You knew that they would be true to this. فَقَبِلْتُهُمْ وَقَرَّبْتُهُمْ وَقَدَّمْتَ لَهُمُ الذِّكْرَ الْعَلِيَّ وَالثَّنَاءَ الْجَلِيَّ. And so you accepted from them and you drew them near to you, and thus you provided them with sublime mention, and you distinguished them above everything else. Meaning at that point, even in that alam before existence, when they are asked, and we have this about Sayyidina Zahra as well, salamullah alayha, in her Ziyarat. That you are the one that was tested before she was created, and Allah found you to be sabira. This is in reference to that point. That Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, the maqamat that they had, and through the eternal knowledge of God, He knew that they would be good and they would fulfill these promises, and thus they were given these maqamat. And now there's a lot of discussion from some of our own, unfortunately, where this Wahhabi thought has entered, and they begin to question the maqam of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, almost a Hasbuna Kitabullah type situation that we have, that no need for hadith and no need for any of this, we'll just focus on the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they often say, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says that nobody can have the ilm al-ghayb. And we have ayat in the Holy Quran. For example, وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِيحَ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُ, that with Him are the keys of the ghayb, of the unseen. None knows them but Him. None knows of the ghayb, of the unseen, but Him. Or hadith that say that the Holy Prophet lost his camel and he says, I don't know where it is. Or when Imam Sadiq comes out of his house and he says that people say we know everything, but one of my workers has run away, one of the servants has run away, I don't know where he is. How do we consolidate all of this? And the answer, obviously, from the Holy Quran, again, is that we have other ayat. عَالِمُ الْغَيْبِ فَلَا يُظْهِرُ عَلَى غَيْبِهِ أَحَدًا إِلَّا مَنْ ارْتَضَى مِنَ الرَّسُولِ. That Allah doesn't reveal the ghayb, the unseen, to anyone except those from whom He chooses from His apostles, from His appointed ones. Or another one, nor is God going to make you acquainted with the ghaib, but those who Allah chooses from His apostles. So we have ayat about this. But now, how do we consolidate these two? One, he's saying that nobody has knowledge of the ghaib. At another point, he's saying, well, some people have knowledge of the ghaib. What does it mean? These two ayat. It's a very important discussion. Two sets of ayat. One time, God is saying, no, nobody knows the ghaib. Another time, he's like, actually, no, there are some people who know the ghaib. I choose them. Is he contradicting himself? No. What we're saying, the answer is in fact very simple. One is that ilm al-ghaib is solely and solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By him saying that the ghaib is only with him, he's referring to that ilm al-ghaib is something that is dhatan, part of Allah, is his essence, that knowledge of the ghaib. It's one of his sifat, of his essence, of his dhat, that he from himself knows the unseen. And only he possesses it bidhat. Only he possesses it within his essence. He's the possessor of all knowledge of the unseen, and no one else possesses it bidhat, of his own essence. Does that make sense? Yeah? So where Allah is saying in the Holy Quran that only Allah has knowledge of the ghaib, He's referring to that knowledge bidhat, from his essence. And we are saying that Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam have knowledge of the ghaib, but it's not bidhat. It's what Allah bestows upon them. There is a distinction. So wherever Allah is saying in the Holy Quran, He's referring about the ghaib, the knowledge of the ghaib, that no one has it but Allah. He's talking about His own sifat, that He manifests that from His own essence. And nowhere have we found in hadith that Ahlul Bayt themselves say that we have this knowledge of dhatan, that we possess it within our essence. No, that which is mumkinul wujud cannot say that. But they say that we have been bestowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Umar ibn al-Faraj is with Imam al-Jawad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. On the banks of the river Dajjala. And Umar ibn al-Faraj says to the Imam, says, Ya Allah Rasulullah, people say that you know the volume of the water of the Dajjala. Is this true? Imam looks at him and says, Umar ibn al-Faraj, if I told you that Allah could bestow all of that knowledge to a mosquito, would you accept that? He says, yes, of course. So he says, so are we not greater than a mosquito? You are willing to accept that God can bestow this knowledge upon a mosquito, but when it comes to us, Ahlul Bayt, you begin to question. Because you begin to question. Allah can bestow upon whomever He wishes. So he says, so why are you shocked when we, Ali Muhammad, say that we possess the knowledge of the ghaib? Go back to the early example that I gave you of the sixth Imam, where he comes out and he says, I've lost my slave, my servant. I don't know where he is. Who says that we have knowledge of the unseen? I don't know where my slave has gone. Why is it that the Imam did this? Some have said that at that point, there were some ghalis that were sitting in the gathering of the Imam, some exaggerators that were exaggerating the maqam of Ahlul Bayt, because the ghulat began to take hold in the time of the fifth Imam, the sixth Imam, going on to the seventh, eighth Imam. They were starting to get very strong. Individuals who attributed true divinity to Ahlul Bayt brought them from a vertical plane of existence to a horizontal plane with God, said that they're at the same level. So those individuals are known as ghalis, those that bring Ahlul Bayt from this vertical to a horizontal level on par with God. That's shirk. Yeah? So some said that it's because there were some ghalis that were sitting there and the Imam was trying to dissuade them from that. So he came out and he said, we don't know anything. Who says that we know everything? I don't know where one of my servants has gone. The Imam says this and he goes inside. Some of the close companions of the Imam followed him in. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we thought you knew everything. We thought you had knowledge of everything. And now Imam gives them an example. He says, it's true, we do know everything. Says, look at Asif al-Barkhiyya in the Holy Quran. Says, look what Asif al-Barkhiyya had. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he had ilmun min al-kitab. He had some knowledge from the book, a small amount of knowledge from the book, and he was able to do what he wanted. Says the knowledge of Asif al-Barkhiyya is like a drop from an ocean. And when it comes to Amirul Mu'mineen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Kul kafa billahi shahidan bayni wa baynakum wa min indahu ilm al-kitab. He says the difference of ilmun min al-kitab and ilmul kitab is this, that the knowledge of Asif al-Barkhiyya was as if a bird that is flying over an ocean dips its wing into that ocean and raises a single drop of water upon its back. Says that was the knowledge of Asif al-Barkhiyya. But ilm al-kitab is this, that we, Ali Muhammad, are the ocean. That's knowledge of al-Kitab. Al-Kitab is the Batini version of the Quran, from which the Quran that we have in the Mulk is a tajalli of that. And that al-Kitab is the Batin of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So then knowledge is such. So the Imam then says to them, says that is our maqam. He says, but I said this so that they would not be lost. So did the Imam lie, na'udhu billah? How do we answer this? The Imam has come out and he said, I don't know where he is. My slave has run away. He comes inside the room. They say, Ya Rasulullah, we thought you knew everything. Says, yes, I know where he is. I know where he is. Our knowledge is ilm al-kitab. So now what do we do? We're in a bit of a conundrum here. Did the Imam, na'udhu billah, lie? Because again, he's outside in front of people. He says, I don't know where this slave has gone. He's run away. I have no idea where he's gone. He comes inside. The companions say, we thought you knew everything. He turns around and he says, I know where he's gone. But I was trying to dissuade them. On the Zahir, we've got a bit of a problem here. What is the answer? I gave it to you at the start. What is the head of the chapters of the ilm of the Ahlul Bayt? Knowledge when they choose to know. Yeah? Babul anna al-a'imma idha sha'u alimu. When Imam is outside, he hasn't chosen to know. So he says to them, I don't know. When he retreats inside, he accesses the divine treasure of knowledge, and now he knows. And so on both times, the Imam he's not lying. At that time, he chose not to know. It's in the ikhtiyar of the Imam. So this is the key point. Anywhere where you see Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are saying, or the Prophet is saying, I don't know, then it's because they don't want to know. They don't want to know. Not that they can't know or do not know. They can access it. But it's at that point that they do not want to know. So any hadith, anywhere you find that the Holy Prophet said, I don't know, or the Imam is saying, I don't know, in regards to something, it is because they have chosen not to access that. I say, I don't know because of a lack of knowledge. And that's a weakness. But those that are divinely appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do not possess this weakness. When they choose not to know, it is because there is a maslahah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so they choose not to access that divine knowledge. So this is when we say khuzanul ilm, this is what we mean. That they're able to access all of that. This is their kamal. That they're able to access everything. But at times they choose not to access it. There are certain parts that they wish not to access. And so this is at times when Sayyidah Zainab is being told about everything that will happen to her. And Amir al-Mu'mineen saying, Zainab, you will be imprisoned, Hussein will be killed, this will be happening. But then in Kufa, she says to him, Mata wa hanta ya shaqiqa fu'adi. I didn't expect this. They told me that you would be killed. They told me that we would be imprisoned. But no one prepared me for this. No one told me that your head would be on a spear in front of me. It's very difficult. Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam, that knowledge that they have, and then choosing not to access it. Or when they have access to that knowledge, but knowing that this is the maslahat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, still moving towards that depth. This is their command. I've been asked today to recite the musibah of that daughter of Abi Abdullah, who he himself called her Sakina, the one that was sukoon for the heart of Abi Abdullah. When on the day of Ashura, she held on to the legs of the horse and she began crying. And Imam al-Hussein descends from the horse and he says to her, Sakina, don't break my heart at this point. He says, because your time for crying is still to come. When you see my severed head, or you see my body lying without a head on the plains of Karbala, that will be your time to cry. When you are taken from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, Abi Abdullah was extremely close to this daughter of his. That even at that point, she says to him, Father, then do me one request. And Imam says, what is it? Says that Ruddana ila Medina. Says that take us back to Medina. Imam says, no, your journey is still to go ahead. Says then, Father, then do one other thing for me. Says, lay down on the ground so I can lay on your chest one last time. Because after this, she does find the chest of Abi Abdullah and Sham al-Ghariban. But that chest is not how she remembered it. Because now they had already run horses over that body twice. You often hear Imam Hussein's body was only trampled once on the day of Ashura. But in the Nahiyat, your Imam says, هَوَيْتَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ جَرِيحًا تَطَعُكَ الْخُيُولُ بِهَوَافِرِهَا. That when you fell to the ground injured, Abi Abdullah was still alive. تَطَعُكَ الْخُيُولُ بِهَوَافِرِهَا. The horses trampled your body under their hooves. But now when Sakina comes to that body, that chest is no more. When they went to Ibn Ziyad and they stood in front of him for their reward, one of the ways they introduced themselves, these individuals that had trampled the body of Abi Abdullah, they said, نَحْنُ رَزَزْنَا الصَّدْرِ. We are those who softened the bones of the chest of Hussein. And we crushed those bones into the bones of his back. But this girl goes out and she finds the broken chest of her father and she lies upon it until Zainab alayha salam finds her. And they say to her, Sakina, how did you know it was the body of your father? And she said, when I ran out into the battlefield, the tents were burning, they were attacking us. I ran out into the battlefield, I was calling out, Father, Father, and from this body came the voice, Ilayya, Ilayya, come to me, oh my daughter. This child suffered at every point from being tied to a rope that was too short, that every time they would stand up, it would choke. The dhulm upon this daughter was not just physical, it was also psychological. There came a point outside of Sham that they'd run out of water. And then water was brought, and this young girl, 3 or 4 years old, you yourself imagine a 3-4-year-old child, thirsty, having traveled through the heat of the desert. Shimmer gets the water, and he begins to pour the water for all of his army. He sees that this daughter of Imam al-Hussein is also waiting in anticipation. He looks at her, he says, "Do you want to drink water?" She says, "Yes, I'm thirsty." He says, "You can only drink after we have drunk." So she waits. Imagine when you tell a 3-4-year-old child that they need to wait for something. And so she waits in anticipation that water will be given to her. I don't know when the last time was she had drunk water. She watches with anticipation. He goes and he gives water to every single one of his army men. And now whatever is left, he turns towards her. He looks at her. He pours it all on the ground. She runs towards it. That wet ground. She places her face on it. Torment of this child was such that having to see the head of your father on a tray in front of you, and Yazid beginning to strike the lips and the teeth of Abi Abdullah, drinking wine and the leftover wine, pouring it into the tray where the blessed head of Imam Hussein. This is the one time in the narrations you find that Rabab could no longer contain herself. That's Rabab that had contained herself from Karbala, from the death of Ali Asghar, from the death of Abi Abdullah. But at this point, when she sees the head of Imam al-Hussein being disrespected, they say Rabab ran forward. She picked up the head of Abi Abdullah. Ya Shaqiq Fuadi. No, Yazid, these are the lips that Rasulullah would kiss. This child saw this, imprisoned in that house of ruins. Every night she would ask innocent questions of her aunt. "Auntie, where are these birds going?" "My daughter, they're going out to seek." "In the evening, where are these birds going?" "They're returning back to their homes." "Oh, Auntie, when are we going to return back to our homes?" So there came a night where she sees in her dream Abi Abdullah. In the dream she goes, she embraces her father. When she opens her eyes, her father is not there. She begins to cry loudly, wailing. They say to her, "Sakina, what's wrong?" She says, "My father was just here. My father was just here. I want my father." They say to her, "Sakina, you were dreaming. Sakina, you were dreaming." No, she continues to cry. She continues to cry. The news reaches Yazid that the women are wailing and crying. Says, "What happened?" Says, "The daughter of Hussein saw Hussein in her dream and she hasn't stopped crying." He says, "Give her the head of her father." I often often say this, don't think that this was an act of mercy by Yazid, who, as an act of mercy, gives the severed head of their father to a 3 or 4-year-old child. This was to add further pain to the heart of the child, that when they bring in the head of Abi Abdullah, it's on a tray, covered in a cloth. They call her, they say, Sakina, come. She says, oh auntie, I didn't want food. I wanted my father, Abi Abdullah. They remove the cover from the tray, and there she sees the severed head of her father. She runs forward. She grabs hold of the head of Abi Abdullah. Father, tell me who orphaned me at such a young age. Father, tell me who cut the veins of your neck. Father, tell me who covered your face and beard in blood. She lays down. Father, they beat us. Father, they attacked us. Father, they slapped me. Father, no one was slapped more than our aunt Zainab. Every time they wanted to slap us, Zainab would stand in the way. Don't slap the children of Hussein. Slap Zainab instead. She lies down. The narration says, وَضَعَ فَمَهَا عَلَى فَمِهِ الشَّرِيفِ ثُمَّ مَاتَتْ. She places her lips on the lips of her father, and her soul leaves her body. Sajjad comes. He sees his sister in this state. He calls out, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. They bring the woman to give ghusl. They bring the woman to give ghusl to Sakina. The lady comes and takes the body. She begins to give ghusl. Then she comes out. She says, who is the elder from amongst you? Zainab alayhi salam comes forward. She says, I am the elder. She says, tell me, was this girl ill in some way? Did she suffer from a disease in some way? Says, no, why do you ask? She says, her whole body, there is no place where there isn't a bruise or a wound upon it. Zainab begins to cry. Says, this is not the sign of illness. This is the sign of Shimon upon this health.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein. حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول گیا 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 انجلتے گئے دور میں دے انجلتے گئے دور میں دے ہوتے کرونا بھول گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول گیا انجلتے گئے دور میں دے انجلتے گئے دور میں دے تے کرونا بھول گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول 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 گیا او بابا میں خوشام کے لوکاں نے تیرے بعد کنیزی وچ منگیا بابا میں خوشام کے لوکاں نے تیرے بعد کنیزی وچ منگیا میں غیرت سیدہ دی میں غیرت سیدہ دی او ویلے مر گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول 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 گیا وہ جدا گل تیرے ضربا چلیا میں کھول کلو کے ڈینڈی رہی جدا گل تیرے ضربا چلیا میں کھول کلو کے ڈینڈی رہی نہیں ملے آسر تیرا نہیں ملے آسر تیرا اتر لے کر بھی رہا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول گیا 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 ہوتی تا پہلا پر سامک تل بچ میں کچھ مر لگین یتیمی دا دیتا پہلا پر سامک تل بچ میں کچھ مر لگین یتیمی دا انج ظالم ہت چایا انج ظالم ہت چایا او میں خاک تے جڑ پیاں تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رول گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رل گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رل گیا تیرا سینہ نہیں لبدا بابا میں رل گیا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا 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 جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا 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 بابا مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کے تماچے مارے مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کے تماچے مارے میں نے سر سے مانگا جو تمہارا بابا مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا وہ جو دنیا پہ نے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے وہ جو دنیا پہ نے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے ان کو بے درد سے ظالم نے اتارا بابا مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے پوش ملانا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا آپ کے سینے پہ آرام سے سونے والی آپ کے سینے پہ آرام سے سونے والی سو کے اب خاک پہ کرتی ہے سو کے اب خاک پہ کرتی ہے گزارا بابا جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا آپ کے سینے पे आराम से सोने वाली, अब के सीने पे आराम से सोने वाली, क्योंकि अब खाक पे करती है गुजारा बाबा, मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, मुझे आपके कातिल। या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन। वो सर को कटा के दीन पे, सर को कटा के दीन पे, खुद करबला पे कर दिया तूने हुसैन। या हुसैन 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 या हुसैन। ओ खालिक तेरा ममनून है, खालिक तेरा ममनून है मुर्तज़ा और फातिमा के नूर है। या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या
محمد صلوات
الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, brothers, after Salat, there will be niyaz, so please do stick around.